Hello everyone. All right, we're ready to begin writing some bugs and occasionally some software as well. The dog is awake. Very rare occurrence. He was limping earlier, so I'm trying to keep an eye on him, but it was very selective, so you never know. All right, hold on. He's about to lay down. That will be the position that he will be in for the rest of the stream. Of course. Motherfucker. Every time without fail, that's what he has to do. Yeah, probably shouldn't have him on the bed behind me if I'm not wanting to have that on camera, I guess. He's not done with it. Oh my god. Alright. I'm just gonna move on. Like I said, writing bugs and occasionally software. To the point that my last two streams actually ended with my code crashing. But I ended up fixing it. So I think it should work now. Except I haven't pulled my changes, so it won't really work. So I'll have to do that real quick. I have to say, Git is great, but when you're working on multiple computers, it's kind of a pain in the ass. You have to manually synchronize everything yourself. It's a little bit annoying. Then again, he's still not done. Holy. I guess it is what it is. Alright, is that light like too bright? That's probably better. Okay, so. Alright, I forgot I was looking into this thing. probably need to undo all my changes and then fetch. Okay, and pull. Why is this taking so long? Okay. Okay, so I'm now on Codeberg, by the way, and it's slow. It's slow, I have to say. It's not GitHub, so that's pretty cool. But it is slow, so that's not very cool. Alright, but with those changes I just pulled in, I should be able to do everything properly, I believe. Everything should work as expected, and I can do what I'm supposed to do today, which is more terminal work. It's been like extra slow today. Alright, everything seems to work, I believe. We have a picture of Jester, which means that everything works. Alright. So, what I did Monday and Sunday, because, yeah, both times I didn't really get to finish it, is working on isolating the file system for userland processes from the file system. I'm calling it the kernel file system. I don't really have a better name for it, but yeah, the real file system, the actual file system that exists in the entire system. The idea is to have each process have its own little file system completely isolated, but that with permissions has access to certain resources in the real file system, because obviously you do need to have something from the file system. Right, so okay, so we're not done. So it is crashing. I hadn't tested this process. Alright. The way that it's supposed to work right now, no, I'm pretty sure I know what's happening actually. The way that it's supposed to work is that we have certain folders that are only available to processes. So far inside a process, you could always go to /resources, and that would take you to the resources folder for your application, which can contain like pictures and images and audio and whatever. Pictures and images, Jesus, those are very different things. It can contain any kind of resources that you want to easily access. You just access them through this path, and this is being forwarded to your applications.red package /resources /whatever it is. So I'm actually pretty sure the reason that it crashed is that the file browser doesn't have a resources folder. Never mind. Yeah, that's not the reason why it crashed. Oh, my dog. Yeah, hold on. I was censoring him while he was licking himself. Yeah, so my theory was that the file browser crashed because it didn't have a resources folder, but it has a resources folder right here, so I guess we'll have to do some debugging. Anyway, the way this entire thing works right now is actually you can still access the entire file system because plenty of processes already expect to access the file system as normal. And it would be kind of disruptive to the file browser or the app launcher that they don't have access to the entire file system anymore. So I'm gonna do it kind of progressively, and for now, they still have access to it, but they also have a kind of virtual file system on top of the real file system, which is also a virtual file system. So they have a local file system. All right, so where is this crashing? Why am I starting all these streams by fixing a crash? Lord, can I just do what I'm supposed to do? I worked on this entire thing for the file system, and the entire time, what I'm actually trying to do is have the application have a way to talk to the terminal. That isn't ANSI escape sequences. I'm trying to replace those with something better, which is why I'm creating this file system so that they have somewhere to talk to the terminal. And I've spent 3 streams doing nothing but debugging this system. Well, building it, but it's mostly been bugs and crashes. So here we are again. 3rd stream, same thing happening. All right, and it claims that the crash was in MMU boot, which is not correct. utils.h, which is not correct, and math.h, which is not correct. The thing is, I'm pretty sure it's reading this information from like the kernel's debug information, but what crashed is the application. So that's probably not accurate. It's a bit hard to tell, but I guess. All right, first off, does it crash without the isolated file system because I put it behind this define? And the answer is no, it doesn't crash. Okay, so the crash is definitely happening here. And again, the crash handler that was also itself failing is being unhelpful. Software can be so fun sometimes. You can really feel the satisfaction you have when something doesn't work and you're learning. You can really feel the learning. You can really feel the learning. I'm trying to talk myself and I'm trying to delude myself into thinking that this is fun, because otherwise I'm gonna go crazy. Hello, G Studio. Did I finish what? Well, whatever it is, I didn't finish. I'm not. I feel like I keep doing shit and it just doesn't move forward. Again, the past 3 streams I've been working on a feature for the file system so I can use it in the terminal. The entire time I'm trying to work on the terminal, but I'm doing the side quest and the side quest just won't end. And it's always crashing. The damn side quest is always crashing. Alright, so what is crashing? That won't really tell me what it is. That is kind of the problem. And again, I feel like that's because the crash dump here is giving me is translating the addresses where the crash happened to the kernel's files, not to the process's files. So that is not right. I can quickly review that that's in order, since it should be here somewhere. Here. Decode crash address. This. So first it tries to decode in the process's own debug file, and then it tries to debug from the kernel's own file. So if it's giving me this, that means that this failed. So yeah, it's in the right order, it's just not going to be very helpful. And this is why I debug with printf, because printf won't do this to you. Alright, so where's the main function of this? Alright, so you're creating some stacks, you're entering a directory, and then you're doing this. So I'm assuming if we don't enter the directory, then nothing will happen. The process will work as expected. Yes. Except it doesn't show anything because I disabled all of its functionality. But at least it works. Alright, so going into enter, we're entering a directory, and most likely we're trying to call stat, so that could be something that's failing. Now we're checking. So I'm very suspicious of stat, because I haven't actually fully touched its code, so I just copied and pasted. So very likely that the crash that's happening is happening in here. But I need to confirm that first. And okay, now it's giving me a completely different crash dump. But stat check with no stat succeeded, so yes, it crashed in stat. Alright, so stat. Alright. Okay. In stat, we're supposed to stat a path, and we're supposed to stat, well, no, we're not. We're supposed to get, what does stat stand for? Status or statistics? I'm assuming it's status. I'm not sure. Is it fstat? Get file status, yes, stands for status. Alright, so we're trying to get the status of a file or folder at a path, and we're trying to put it inside of this out stat value here. Alright, so we get those values and we validate them, and then we okay, all this code is correct. Then we try to get the file system that they are currently located in. Some of them will be located inside of the local file system, some of them will be located inside of the regular file system. That will be put inside of this root fs, and then we're going to stat from that file system using the path that we were given into this value. Then we're going to free the path and we're going to return. Alright, so this code looks okay, but I'm assuming something here is failing. So we're going to keep printf stat string goes to and the x, where you're going to tell me the root file system size. What the hell? Yeah. Tell me the size of the file system. Based on that, I'll know if it's... I feel like the error is really, really dumb. I think the error is really, really dumb. Okay, let me see. Did you print any of that? Oh no. It didn't print any of that, so yeah. Clearly wrong. The error is not what I thought it was. Yep. Okay, so the error is happening in here. Somewhere here we're crashing, and it says that it's in string.h, 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 signal.h, fs isolation. See, this is actually accurate. Okay, so I feel like these addresses here belong to the process itself. These here, which make a little bit more sense, are the actual place where it's crashing in fs isolation, which is this. Line 47, 31, so this get module from, which goes to module loader. Not sure what this VFS has to do with it. I don't think it has anything to do with it. Probably this, line 62. It's a hash map get. Okay, so if we get to this point, we've already validated these two values, here, and yeah. And modules is the only one that could be crashing, I guess. But why would it be crashing? This shouldn't be crashing, but okay. But I might as well check. Local file system is AX local fs. I don't think it's crashing because of that, but it points to that. Okay, so local file system is at this value. And then IMX. Local FS is at 545044B, no, 8B0. Yeah, your new GUI looks nice. I liked it. I like that you have images too. Okay. So I'm assuming the crash has moved, yeah, to line 48. So from line 47, I moved to line 48 when I added a new line. So it's definitely this that's crashing, but what the hell is crashing? Local FS has a and local path should have a value, right? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's empty. Early macro. It did look like. My God, I cannot speak. It did remind me of like Mac OS before the 10, before Aqua, essentially. No, okay, this has a valid value as far as I can tell, but oh no, it doesn't. Oh no, it doesn't. Okay, I understand what the problem is. So we're trying to get a module for a directory, and the directory is slash, and we're advancing. If the first character of the path is slash, we advance it because that's the root directory, but then we're not handling the situation in which yeah, we're not handling the situation in which we're in the root directory, and so by removing one from the length and adding one to the data, we're essentially leaving this string slice completely empty. The problem is I'm not really prepared for that. Aqua takes up a lot of memory, but probably back then. I'm sure now it's a lot better. Well, now they have liquid glass, which honestly I don't mind. I feel like liquid glass got a lot of hate for no reason. Okay, so I know what's happening. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so the root directory does not have a system module for it. And we're trying to return a system module for it, which doesn't exist. So that crashes. I can easily fix the crash by putting the right code here, right? Which is if no mod name length, this is the root directory. But the root directory doesn't have one of these modules. Because it doesn't have one of these modules, there's not much we can do with it. How was I doing this before, though? Okay, never mind. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to create a module for it. System module root module is name root Mount point is empty. I'm not sure if mount point empty is allowed, so I'm just gonna do this. It's not like I'm actually mounting it, so it doesn't matter. An initializer doesn't need one. It really just needs... There's no reading or writing files, since it is a directory and the root directory, so it's not supposed to be... It's not supposed to have files, at least not in my system. Really, all I need is stat, get stat, which I'll create a function for. That's a boolean return root stat with a const char path, and pretty sure it also takes a module root, a const char path, and an fs stat pointer out stat. Right, which returns true by default. And really just always does the same thing. If no out stat, then return false. And really all we care about is that your size is 0 and the type is directory. Alright, so you're going to point to that, root stat. And then I'll give it a readDir function, which I'm pretty sure I can just use the function that I already have, list root from. Why? I'm a little concerned that this one went red now. Oh. Alright. I feel like I really wish they had put each of these types in a new line. They would be so much easier to read what went wrong. You're initializing a file getStat function, aka an unsigned char function pointer with a const char and an fstat. Okay, so it doesn't take the module root. Thank you. And this one also doesn't take a module root. Why the fuck not? Oh yeah, it doesn't. I'm going to leave it with an empty readDir function for now, because I'm not sure what to do with that. But anyway, if we have a root directory, we're just going to return the root module. And it still crashes. Well, that I wasn't expecting. And again, file system isolation, line 48, which points us to here, line 80. No, how are you on line 80 right now? We just established that the entire problem is that there's no length to the string. So how exactly are you on line 80 when I just went through the if check? I guess the short answer is that's not really the problem, yeah. Did the length go negative? No, it's... Okay. I need to understand what's going on here, because if no mod length, then we return 0. However, if the first path directory is this one, then we reduce the length by 1. Then we check if the length is 0 again, and it isn't, because apparently it's -1. So when we got to this point, it was not 0, which means it was 1, 2, 3, or whatever. Then we reduced it by 1, which makes it 0, 1, 2, or 3, or whatever. How did we get to -1 exactly? Unless it was already negative? That probably, yeah, okay. It was already negative. Okay, actually, not even that. Just return an empty string slice. Is my dog always sleeping on the bed? Yes. Yes, he is. Also, hope you're having a great day too. Alright, now I understand why it was -1. Because it was already -1. Also, these checks, yeah, technically a little bit wrong, I guess. And still crashes? Are you serious? Bro, I'm still in the side quest inside of the side quest. This is not even what I wanted to work on today. Oh god, I hate when this happens. Especially when it happens 3 times in a row. God, it's so annoying. Alright. Still on fucking line 80. What is your damn problem? You're literally returning. Not sure what that message root is now that is supposed to mean, but whatever. How is it negative again? How did it go negative again? Wait, it's unsigned. It's unsigned, which is making it go higher. You know, the other day I saw someone on Twitter say that using unsigned usually is just completely unnecessary and just asking to be to shoot yourself on the foot, and they're not wrong. Like, at all. Because now I'm checking if a value is less or equal to 0. And I would expect Clang to give me a warning about this, because it usually does, but not when I actually need it. Useless damn program that it is. This should give me a warning, but it doesn't. Anyway, it's fixed. I do wonder if I can just make the length of this thing, like the size t type, a signed integer instead of an unsigned one. That probably wouldn't be very... libc probably wouldn't love that for cross-platform, but... yeah, libc's stupid, so... Alright. So I guess that error is fixed, but in the process I found another error, which is... how do you handle, without rewriting a lot of code anyway, I think I will have to rewrite, not rewrite a lot of code, but I think I'm gonna have to add a new parameter to a lot of functions, and that's not gonna be very fun. But essentially, any functions inside of system module, which are all of these, are going to need to know which module they're working with, which file system they actually belong to. And that means that I have to override to replace all of these. But I can just do one for now and then just leave the rest for later. Except it's type deft here, so I'll have to move that. All right. So read there now takes a module root pointer as the first argument, which means I'm seeing an error here. Right, here it is. Yeah, all of this file system was not created for this. It's gonna be a lot of refactoring that I don't feel like doing right now in the slightest. I'm just gonna hack it together real quick. Settings app or theming app to theme the desktop system? I feel like settings makes more sense. And put the theme app inside of that. Alright, I don't want to do all this. Just for one singular case in which I need to make somewhat of an exception. It is literally one case where I need to make the exception here. That's it. So you can have a theme app inside of the settings, to be fair. You also have other types of settings. Alright, system module, what do we do with you? Okay, like I said, just hack it together. And figure it out later. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna expose this root module, and really all I need to do here is just stat works fine. It's just for read directory. The root directory doesn't allow files, only directories. So all you can do inside of it is just list its contents or stat. Stat is a very simple function, so it doesn't need anything super powerful. But you do, where essentially if the module is equal to the root module, then list directory contents. No, that's not the name of the function. This is the name of the function, list root. From root with path, buffer, size, and offset. And return that. Oh, you don't have an offset? Buffer, size, and offset. Oh, you don't take a path, obviously, because we already know the path. Okay, It's a bit hacked together, but it should work. Listing the root directory like this. Which I'm pretty sure I was already doing something like this, so it doesn't really matter. No. But I think I know why. We have this which is probably getting triggered. No, come on, man. Wait, did I disable something in the file browser by any chance? No, it's all perfectly fine. So you should be listing the contents of the directory. Failed to get info for this. Where's that coming from? Failed to get info for that. Okay. It's in the file browser. It's failing the stat again. So I'm still on the first of the 2 side quests, I guess. Stat is a very simple function. It's not going to be too difficult. The real problem is list directory. Alright, path resolved to 0, null. Okay, so the same issue is happening, yeah. So we should allow stat on kind of null because no. I'm not sure about this. Okay. Stat root stat root stat with no path really and the out stat. Well, you can take path, doesn't really matter. Okay. So that worked for stat, but it's still not listing the contents of a directory, and now I can actually move on to the second hack of the day. Because path resolved to nothing. Yeah, that makes sense. So in that case, you just return list root from whatever file system you were told to do. With the buffer, I feel like even then it's not gonna go so well. Yeah, I'm gonna give it this a try. Okay, so this is listing the the root directory of the real file system. But on top of that, there is the virtual file system, which we're not doing. So we can also list that one inside the same buffer with the same size and the same offset and hope that they handle that correctly, which is really the best I can do. Random disk console temp. I'm not seeing resources here, so that is not working. Because in this case, it resolves to a kernel module. We have to get into this situation, which is when the module in question doesn't exist. That's where we go in. No, hold on. Which one of these is happening? No local mod returning kernel aliased local mod returning kernel or local mod. Oof. Yo, burnt out, what's up? All of them say no local mod returning kernel because they're all listing the root directory. Shouldn't you be returning this? Shouldn't you be? Should. Ah, no, because this now returns stat. Alright, how long is that? 52 minutes of doing something completely unrelated to what I was going to do today. Wonderful. Alright, so this is listing directories again. 2 from local mod, and the rest are not local mod. But local mod is not being listed. Wait, why 2 from local mod? Oh, stat. I am a little unclear on what's happening. Alright, you're told to list a directory. You do this resolution of the path. You resolve the path here. That's where you've already handled all of this. In which case you get into this, you first root directory, and then you should be doing this one. Except it's always gonna be that check was incorrect, but it actually should have given me false positives, not the other way around. Okay. Alright, let's see if this can possibly work. No. Wait, I'm not seeing a single one of these prints. Oh, because the path now resolved to this, which is calling this function, which is calling this function, which is just not right. Alright. We're also going to add an explicit string compare because just when I established what this was supposed to be, it changed. So it's all going amazing today. Okay, finally. God damn. What is this K? What is this K? What the K is that? That is literally the root directory. That's not right. Oh my god. Okay. So it is listing the contents of the kernel directory followed by the contents of the normal directory. Except it is getting them in the wrong order, it looks like. That's a little weird. I have lost control of this code a long time ago. I never knew what it did, and now I know it even less. I would say might as well have been written by AI, but technically it works, so no, not really. Alright, it's really annoying when you want to work on a feature and you end up working on debugging something else entirely. And you do nothing but that. Okay. I didn't save that change, so all of that is here. But it does say listed contents of the root directory of kernel, as well as the contents of the local proc dir. That is correct. Now, why are you seeing a directory called K? What the hell is that? And number two, why is resources completely inaccessible? When in fact it does work. But maybe I just haven't given it. Yeah, that probably is on me, but resources.work, this is being taken from there. But again, that's maybe a different story. Maybe I just haven't implemented stat and read dir for that function. Okay, no, except they should all be forwarded, so it should work. I'm so confused right now. Alright, mod mount. That's not really the name of the thing, but whatever. I also want to see where that K is coming from, so I'm gonna put a print here. Done listing. Okay, so we go to the root directory, and we first list random. Random is not here. Okay, I'm starting to see what's happening. Because random is not here. Disk is probably where the K is coming from. Graph, console, TMP, boot, audio, language, tools, proc, home, clipboard, theme, and in. And then it takes a module called resources. And somehow that resources module is messing everything up. Most likely that resources module is responsible for all the evil in the world. Or at the very least for corrupting some data inside of this thing. If I remove it, random is back, disk is back. Okay, so you're definitely doing something wrong here. You're setting this, and the hash map. Iterate root. Okay, increasing the count. Do you set the count back to 0? No. So that's already not good. Are these even static? No, so that's also not good. Okay, so that was already probably overwriting some data. But not really. Okay, so we have this directory list fill helper, which takes a buffer and a limit and just uses them with an offset that it also has. Internally, yeah. Helper list, helper offset. Okay, so that is probably being reset on the way. Yeah. Okay. So what's happening here is that the second call is overriding the first one, pretty much. So I just used the offset and that should be fine, right? Kind of. It didn't actually list the second directory, but random and disk are back. And they actually work. Okay. Well, there's an ad on Twitch, so I'll be back in 3 minutes. Hopefully I'm gonna be done with all of this. And I can move on to doing what I actually wanted to do today. Okay, so I'm back a little early, hoping to maybe be done with debugging everything. It's so annoying. It is so annoying. Okay. Here's the thing. I'm trying to list the contents of 2 different directories. And in so doing, I'm only listing the contents of one, which is more than I was doing like 5 minutes ago, so that's already good. But I'm going to try to invert their order and see if that works. Okay, that does work. But then it doesn't actually list the contents of this thing at all. So I'm a little bit surprised about that. And let's see how much we wrote versus how much data we have. I think it's a 4 kilobytes, so I highly doubt that 4 kilobytes are being taken up. Filled out E out of 1,000. Yeah, no, I think we have plenty of space there. The only thing that's a little weird here is using the offset. Oh, this is really not supposed to be done. Okay. Is any of these being triggered? It feels like everything is succeeding, but then it's not actually writing anything. Yeah, at no point does it ever say that it can't fill the information for these. It is very much able to write it. It has a helper, a list, a limit. It didn't return false. It got here, which means it returned true. But it does have a weird offset here that it maybe shouldn't have. God damn it. Yeah, what I'm doing here is really not supposed to be done like that. Okay, I understand what the problem is. Essentially, it is filling out all the information, but both of these times it is skipping a header size, which it doesn't need to do. So that is causing the issue. And it should be enough for me to just move this out of the function, put it here. Files, dir list. Put it here, pass it to these functions also as a second parameter. Update the function to take that parameter. And that should fix all my issues. Except now I need to include files dir list. Oh, I am getting so annoyed at this code. I'm starting to really hate it. Even though it's not even poorly written, it's just really annoying to work with. What do you do? What is your problem? Wait, list root. Okay. There. Christ, what else? Yeah, no, you don't handle that. Okay. And finally, that should be it. Please, please let it be it. Because I am so tired. Thank you. Thank you. It works. It works. Whew. Goddamn. That was not very fun. Alright, also, these arguments are no longer needed. They were kind of being annoying. So I'm gonna get rid of them. Which means get rid of them here. Hey, best creeper. I should be happier. I'm finally done with this. I can move on to the next part of what I'm trying to do. Finally, I should be celebrating. I should be jumping around. I think actually this whole saga has just destroyed me. Okay, so finally, for the love of God, this is the root directory according to the file browser, which includes a local folder that only it has resources, which contain its resources. And it can't access that right now because that resources folder is supposed to have a stat function call, which it doesn't. But hopefully I'm able to add it without... Yeah, I do need it. I do need it. So yeah, I need to add it and just hope that it works, because if it doesn't, I'm just gonna cry. Alright. So this is the resources module. It has an init function. It doesn't have any more functions because really it just forwards all of its data to another module. Which really makes you wonder, why are you not calling the function that you're supposed to be... Oh god, no! It's not that I didn't implement it, it's a bug. No, come on, no! No! What the fuck do you mean, no? That cannot be. I refuse to believe it. Come on, no. Alright, so I enter the thing and it does all this and it tries to get the stat for boot redOS files system filebrowser.red resources. That is exactly where you should be getting your stat from. So why are you not getting it? And it doesn't say no module for path. Oh, but maybe the module doesn't have a stat function? No, I think it does. Stat. Boot stat. Here. Please at the very least get here. Stat from boot. Stat from boot. Okay. It got to this point. Okay. There is hope. There is hope. that this is just a small bug. I can resolve it in the next 5 minutes and I can just move on from this nightmare. For the love of God, please. Stat from RedOS system file browser.red resources. Yeah. So you're supposed to call the stat function. Not found. RedOS system file browser.red resources. Did that maybe not get copied? Please let that be it. System file browser red resources. It's here. It's right here. It's right here. But it is empty. Does it maybe not exist because it's empty? Is that a thing that FAT32 does? It's a really, really, really shitty file system. So maybe if a folder is empty, it doesn't exist? No, it's right here. Okay, so good news is there's a bug, but the bug is not in the same place as every other bug that I've been dealing with for the past 3 days. Crash out incoming. It's a new bug. But it's different. But it's not the same, so at least that's good. I guess I don't have to worry about it too much. On OS, I might as well, because I'm so... This is not working, so... Okay, here's the thing, though. I can't really navigate. Start. 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 How many start files do you have? I can't really scroll in this thing, so I have to do it manually. No, it would not be nice to have all the bugs be in the same place. This is actually really annoying. Start. License. Oh my god. And now it's bugging. Okay. You know what? Forget about it. You know what? This is not working. But not my problem. As in, it is my problem. But like... I don't know. It feels like there's probably some other bugs happening here. What's up with you? So I'm just kind of gonna move on from it. I'm just gonna pretend that this bug doesn't exist. I'm gonna build the thing that I need to build. Since Sunday, I've been trying to build this thing, and I've been stuck doing a side quest the entire time. One of the shitty side quests. One of the really, really, really shitty ones. One of the absolutely fucking worst ones. One where they didn't have any budget for it. They just kind of let the intern do it and then didn't even validate the work. That's the kind of side quest that I've been doing. So we're gonna stop doing the side quest. We're gonna fail the side quest. We're gonna put it on hold. We're gonna continue with the main quest. Which was written by Bethesda, so it's not like it's gonna be particularly better, but hey. Some other time. Some other time. Find that, yeah. There's find dad, there's find son, there's find overseer, there's find dad. That's all the Fallout quests since Bethesda took over. I've barely played Elder Scrolls, so couldn't really tell you. Um, find the Emperor's son. I know that because of Oblivion. I think it was that. Find dragon. Oh yeah. Find Gek. Find Gecko. Find water chip. See, but those were the interplay Fallouts. They had a slightly better story. There's also Find Mr. House. It's a pretty good one. What even is the plot of Skyrim? I genuinely don't remember. I'm looking for an excuse to take a little break, so now we're just gonna quickly look at the plot of Skyrim. 200 years after the events of Oblivion? I couldn't have told you that. Couldn't wait 3 years collecting garbage when looking for a water chip. Well, I like collecting garbage. I just don't like garbage collectors. In Skyrim, the focus is on the player character. The main story focuses on the player character. Holy shit. Forget what I said about main quests from Bethesda. This is like genius writing. Right? The Dragonborn, on their quest to defeat Alduin the World Eater, a dragon prophesies to destroy the world. Okay, so it's Find Dragon. Alright. So yeah, main quest, but written by Bethesda. Instead of doing the side quests. See, I tend to think that side quests are usually way better than the main quest for most video games. So I'm struggling to think of a game that had really shitty side quests. Written by Microsoft, I guess, because literally the bug is in this shit that was written by Microsoft. But I mean, no, I wrote the driver. Like, never mind. Okay, can I just move on from this? Again, I believe the bug is not inside of my program. I believe the bug is inside of the driver for FAT32, so everything seems to work fine on my end. Close the bug as won't do. Yeah. Also, get rid of that. Well, no. I think it's fine to have. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. And get rid of that. Boom. Dunwich building in Fallout 3. Yeah. I don't really remember that. I know the Dunwich story from 4 and 76 kind of gets into it a little bit. I don't remember what the deal with the building was. The 4 quest is really fun though. Alright, so you work, right? Yeah, you work. Yeah, we're good. Alright. So. Yeah, the Lovecraft themed ones were really good. Fish people in the basement. I remember that from Fallout 76, but not Fallout 3. Then again, I only played Fallout 3 one time. Honestly, that game is so janky. So is Fallout New Vegas because it's the same engine. So is 4, 'cause it's like a slightly better improvement. When we find a self-opening door, the hallucinated flashback happened in the beginning of. Okay, so it's very sim. Maybe that's what I'm remembering. Maybe that is what I'm remembering, and not Fallout 76. Yeah, most likely. Can I make any changes here? Yes, but I think it's actually an unnecessary change, so I can undo it, I believe. What is this, though? Zed still has a few problems with Git on multiple projects. So... I fixed this thing. Yeah, that is correct. Point lookout. That I definitely didn't play. Okay, bring this back because I just deleted it. Bring the rest back, stage all. Alright. I'm gonna call it IFS for isolated file system. No, root, list, and stat. Oh my god. Alright. I've been streaming for an hour and 25 minutes. And I streamed for about, pushed main to Codeberg. Okay, so my main is now Codeberg. I'm not sure if GitHub is being updated. Okay. I streamed on Sunday, Monday, and today for an hour today and a half. And so far, I've been working on something completely unrelated to what I'm trying to build. It was all to do with the file system. I was excited to work on this feature, and the universe had a way to just like punish me for that. So I've been really frustrated with this fucking code because it just didn't feel like working. It's insane. Codeberg hosted by them. That's why it's really slow. Yeah, I'm considering just doing local. Alright, did I end up pushing to all my remotes? Git push failed. Fuck you mean I gotta pull? Yeah, working with multiple remotes is... It's pulling from Codeberg, but it's not pulling from Git pull origin. No, that's not it. Git pull specify remote. Git pull origin? Okay, so it should be git pull origin main. Okay. Git pull all, thank you. You made your own dumb local VCS as inspiration from Casey Moratorium. It works for me. What did Casey do? Okay, so now I can push. Yeah, you know what? I hate how complex Git is. And I always struggle with how complex Git is no matter how many years I've been using it. And I was like, you know what I should do? Have multiple remotes. Yeah, so very clever of me. I guess I can also do git push all. Yeah, the problem is I like to do it from here. I guess that wouldn't really make sense anymore. To be fair, I'm looking to move projects off of GitHub, but this project specifically... Did it actually create a bunch of pull requests? I'm logged out. Oh my god. No, I have branches. Where do I see pull requests? Here. Okay, no pull requests. Okay. Why are you suggesting that I create pull requests for these branches? Honestly, they're local branches that I should probably clean up, but that's kind of insane. Anyway, my project's on Codeberg now, so you can see it here. In case you don't like GitHub. Here you have Codeberg. Still getting used to working with two remotes. I swear to God, I'll probably have to make one a mirror of the other if I can do that, just so like it always keep up to date. I don't know how to do that, or I don't know if that's just two remotes or how that works. Zed's Git integration is also buggy. Yes. Sublime merge, isn't that like $100? Oh, I didn't remember it being. It does have a premium version. That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, I can't blame them for wanting to make it paid. SSH shouldn't ask you for a password though. Well, unless you password protected the SSH key. Premium is dark mode. Yeah, I can't do freemium. Yeah, freemium. Can't do that. I actually remember trying it, and that was my deal breaker. Yeah, no, it's fair. It's a fair price. My main issue with it is that it's not integrated with the IDE, which I'm really getting used to. Like before, I used to always use SourceTree on Mac, which also works on Windows. It's fine, but one kind of big issue that I have with it is that it technically is an entirely different Git configuration. So it runs its own version of Git. It uses its own credentials. It does everything itself. And so that means, you change your SSH keys or you change your authentication, you have to re-authenticate on it again. For example, mine doesn't have permission to push to the workflows folder, like for GitHub workflows. If I try to modify this, I can't do it from SourceTree because it complains about permissions. Whereas I just open a terminal and I can do it from there. Because I do have the permissions, but it's two different authentications. That's really annoying. Especially when all you need to do is just run existing scripts. But I guess it's done that way, so it's completely self-contained. I don't know. Anyway, I'll have to learn how to deal properly with multiple remotes, but for now, yeah, I haven't really done much with Codeberg. But yeah, project is on Codeberg now. And hopefully it's better than GitHub. I can tell you one thing. I can open a file and it doesn't stay there for like 5 hours. Look at that. Look, did you see how quickly that loaded? Hi, Peter. Did you see how quickly that loaded? Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. It's slow as shit, actually. But do you see how quick it is compared to GitHub? GitHub will keep you there for like minutes to open a file. Look at that. It just opened the damn file. Let's do the same thing. What file was it? It was the make file inside of modules. Hey, that was fast. Sometimes it keeps you for minutes, entire fucking minutes, waiting for a file this small to open. Let's find a big file now. Even just the README opened pretty fast. Okay, but this is not code. String.h file. I'm sure it's gonna be slow as hell. It's also in a submodule. But I can't open string.h on this because it is a submodule that points to GitHub. String.c is what I want to open. That opened fast. Okay, so it's only sometimes that it opens slow. But sometimes you can literally just sit there like this while it opens the smallest file ever. GitLab is even worse. Really? Yeah, I remember it used to be pretty good, but barely anyone uses it, so I wouldn't know. But hey, GitHub actually reduced their rendering time from half a second to a tenth of a second. For reference, that's 100 milliseconds. Your average game well, no, not your average game. By definition, a game running at 60 FPS has 16 milliseconds per frame to render the entire super detailed, realistic with the realistic real-time rendering, real-time lighting, um, 3D world that is presented in front of you with all the animations and all the post processing effects and everything that they put on those games. 16 milliseconds. GitHub takes 100 milliseconds to render text, and they were proud of that. I think they wrote a blog post about it. That's not it. I was so confused that they called the blog post 100 milliseconds, but no, that's apparently an organization. Can I find it if I go to news? React. This was pretty big. It went around a lot. Reduced from 400 milliseconds to 100 milliseconds. Did they scrub the internet off it, or what happened? Am I just that bad at Googling shit? Or is Google that broken nowadays? Is it a combination of the three? Anyway, trust me, bro. They totally did that. Oh god. Okay. I'm ready to go back to coding. I think. Oh wait, hold on. Link just came through. Yeah, that might be it. That sounds like it, yes. April 3rd? Damn. I thought it was maybe I would have accepted May 3rd, not April 3rd. We recently shipped a new React-based experience for the Files Changed tab. Now the default experience for all users. One of our main goals was to ensure a more performant experience across the board, especially for large pull requests. That means investing in and considering prioritizing the hard problems like optimized rendering, interaction latency, and memory consumption. It's an experience. Have you maybe considered not using React? Just putting it out there. For most users before optimization, the experience was fast and responsive. Do you hear the very loud wrong buzzer going off right now? I hear it. It may be schizophrenic, but I do hear it. But when viewing large pull requests, performance would noticeably decline. Also when viewing small ones. Also when just navigating GitHub. Also when not navigating GitHub. The JavaScript heap would exceed 1 gigabyte. DOM node counts surpassed 400,000 and page interactions became extremely sluggish or even unusable. Again, the solution is to not use React. I'm going to charge them a consulting fee for saying that. I don't think I could do consulting actually, because I would just like show up and be like, you're using React? That's literally the cause of all your slow code, all your vulnerabilities, all your developers leaving. Literally everything. Lost revenue? React. 100%. I would just charge them like 100K or something like that. That would be my job. That would be my dream job. To yell at people for their choices of programming languages and frameworks. Also, with AI, I would just be like, did you vibe code this? Yeah, don't do that. Pay me. Oh no, file line codes never open. Function navigation also doesn't run. Like, hold on, hold on, hold on. Took you long enough. Yeah, this one opened fast. This often doesn't work. Well, today it feels like working, but also another thing that barely even works on GitHub is search. You can literally do what I just did now, this, and it will tell you 0 results in code. I was copying and pasting, brother. What happened? I was trying to, like, okay. They're using this mode wrap. They're setting the mode wrap, and that's it. They never actually check for it or do anything with it. Absolutely nothing. Except, pretty sure I saw it just now. Oh, look at that. There's actually more results. What do you know? Hell, you can even see them here. In this file, there's 4 results, but if you search for it, there's only 2. Well, 1. Oh, 1 file, okay. What a horrible website this is. Sometimes it will tell you you have no results on something that you search from the code base itself. You'll feel like you're going crazy too. It is so much easier to just clone the repo, except why would I want to do that with when I'm just browsing around, especially when I'm working on something that is not very well documented, but there's a few projects out there that have done it. And I'm like browsing those. I'm not going to download like 10 different repos. But like I genuinely look up something, it leads me to a repository. I look up that term inside the repository, 0 results. How did that happen? How can you possibly have that happen? Oh god, Microsoft, please go bankrupt. But not gonna lie, I was just shitting on Bethesda games, but freedom. I like their games still. They're fun. Kind of unpopular, but I actually like Fallout 4, including the base building. Okay. So again, today, Friday, I'm going to work on a feature that I should have started working on Sunday. Last Sunday, not 2 days from now. 5 days ago. Why is this lagging now? Wait. Okay. So, the terminal. This beautiful little thing. Well, it was invented a long time ago. And there were a lot of really cool terminals. But now, the terminal could be a lot more powerful than it is. And instead it just emulates computers that nobody even knows exist anymore. The amount of people that use a terminal versus the amount of people that have seen an original terminal. I mean, the amount of people that use a terminal emulator versus the amount of people that nowadays have seen a terminal in their lives. I'm not sure if I'm formulating that correctly. I feel like that doesn't make any sense. The point is a lot more people use a terminal emulator without knowing what the actual terminal looks like. Which is something like this, by the way. And I always bring up this one because it's the one whose name I remember. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it is beautiful. I just think it made perfect sense for 1978. Back when the deck introduced it. But I don't think it makes particular sense anymore. I feel like we can advance a little bit more. Perhaps we can do something a little better. We could maybe even modernize terminals. And a lot of people have tried it. Even New has done it. I saw that they have a somewhat like functional looking scripting language, as well as structured data in their terminal. Use a train terminal. Does that count? Is the train always late? Because if so, yes. Why is there a random hair? PowerShell. Isn't that the Windows one? Are you getting paid for this? Why would you mention? Are they paying you? Okay. So yeah, like the new shell uses that's probably a lot easier if I just open it, since I have it installed and I like it. Structures data like this. Right. And so I figured it would be very nice to have this, but actually the terminal itself like has a little bit more support for something like this. Like maybe, I don't know, you can scroll and the header always stays there, or at the very least, like it understands the structure of the data that it's receiving. So kind of what I wanted to do is allow you to set the output type of the terminal. Now the reason I brought up the VT100 is that this introduced the ANSI escape codes, which are some sequence of characters that are used to control the terminal from within the program. You can move the cursor, you can change the text color. What else can you do with it, actually? Move the cursor, here it is. You can erase, obviously. Scroll. Device status report. Save the current cursor position and restore it. You can do bold, like text like this. You can I want that. I want that 100%. Yes. Ideogram underline or right side line. Okay, but rarely supported. Yeah, so it has a lot of features for changing the text and the cursor, but of course I want to take it a little bit further since I mentioned structured data like this is very common in a system, and you want to have this structured data available. And it would be nice if the terminal could actually like support this kind of thing. You could do even more, maybe something like filtering the data, sorting the data automatically within the terminal itself. Besides that, I wish you could search this thing, can you? Yes, you can. Alright. Didn't know. Good. Excalibur is great, honestly. Accidentally printed Bell before and scared the shit out of me. Is it really loud on Windows? Or Linux? Actually, I've never tried it on Linux. Let's give it a try. I should be able to just print from here. Because I was actually doing something with Bell the other day. And that was on Mac. Escape sequence is A. Right, so I'm pretty sure if I just like put it here somewhere. Damn it, I didn't mean to push. Learned coding on a VT100. Interesting. Come on, man. That didn't work. This is Z, to be fair. Yeah, it's just the little bell sound that Ubuntu does. Similar sound to what Mac does. I don't know what it sounds like on Windows. I'm sure it's uncomfortable and unpleasant. Yeah, so those kinds of things I do think are interesting, but I don't know. I mean, I could easily support something like Bell, for that matter. I don't really have a problem with supporting that. I might even add support for the escape sequences eventually, or take a pull request that does if anyone feels like it, because I personally don't. But I'm more so interested in creating another more advanced interface for communicating with the terminal that allows me to also say like, hey, I'm going to give you output that is in text mode, which is going to be the default, or it's going to be a table, or it's going to be hierarchical, or it's going to be a graph. And actually somebody left a comment on the video where I first talked about this, but I don't remember. Let me see if I can find it, because it was actually interesting, but I didn't write it down. Copilot integration, I don't think that's it. Oh, I can't find it. Although, maybe it says unresponded. A progress bar. Yeah, that was it. That was it. I found it. It's a progress bar, and I think that's a very good idea. Still taking suggestions for other things, by the way. But yeah, essentially, I want to allow output that isn't just text. And to control the output, even if it is just text, to control the output through something other than escape sequences, if I want escape sequences at all, which I can't really promise that I do. Types, yeah, I feel like tables would require some kind of typing. And interesting thing is, since my system has, this isn't my system, what do you know? My system does have, please work, for the love of God, okay, it does. These things, which indicate like data types. When you open a file inside of the terminal, you could automatically visualize it with the correct value. Like if you see something raw data, then you will visualize it as a hexadecimal. If you see something as text, you'll, I feel like very small now. That's better. Text will open just as text, kind of like this, even though this isn't the terminal. And the theme would be structured data, perhaps. That's another thing, yeah, structured data that isn't in a table necessarily, because table is for multiple entries of structured data. But what about when you only have one entry of data, but still structured? It's slightly different than a notification cell. I'm kind of interested in checking it, but I'm a little bit lazy to open Windows. That's going to take like 10 hours. Okay, so yeah, I want to allow a way for the application to say, hey, the data that I'm going to send you, it's going to be a table, it's going to be structured data, it's going to be a hierarchy, it's going to be a graph, it's going to be a progress bar, it's going to be a picture of your mom, whatever it is. Or it's going to be text, but it's going to be green. Or it's going to be text, but it's going to be bold. Hello, Stunk Trader. Sometimes you want to be able to drill down in tables and graphs. Like enter it, you mean? Like The fact that this doesn't actually work. I'm not sure if I'm doing anything wrong, but like, it's really weird that it highlights, it gives you the little underscore thingy, but then it doesn't actually do anything, not even like take it here. Also, another thing that I found out is you can just do this. Brother, you lied to me. I was, I had the new shell documentation open, and I was just like doing something else, but I just had it open and I was just looking, and I realized that it said that you can also omit the cd command and just directly go to the directory, but that's a fucking lie. Um, I'm seeing that their data types include blocks, which is an if statement or a loop. Okay. They also have an any type. Binary with this god-awful structure that looks more like hexadecimal because it is, so it's not really binary. I guess it's supposed to be just like raw binary, represented as hexadecimal. I mean, in the console, the links would work. Can you just get a... No, apparently, this is the way that it's supposed to use it. Wait, did they always have this? I feel like I don't remember seeing this before. Or installing the new shell from here. I just downloaded it and put it in my path. But maybe because I didn't want to do it like this? No. Doesn't matter. The point is, I thought you could do that. I'm not sure if you can. Maybe they lied. Or maybe I just did it wrong. But the whole point of this is I want to be able to build a way for the program to just be like, hey, use this type, this type of output, change the color of the text, set it to text mode, set it to table mode, set it to this mode, set it to that mode, something like that. Right, without needing to do a whole lot of extra work, like fancy escape sequences and string formatting with those and all that stuff. So that is why I built this local file system thing. Well, that, and also I really wanted to build it, and now I really don't want to maintain it because I hated doing that. But I'm going to start to move some of the processes stuff over to its own little thingy. Isolated fs.h with a pragma once. And you're going to include process. Good. You're also going to have your own isolated fs.ts. And you're gonna hold all of this, yes, inside of it. And you're also going to include isolatedfs.h. And you're also going to have to include, as I was calling this isolated fs, I realized that I already called another file that. No, fs isolation. Okay. I was a little worried. I called it the same thing, and now I need to import this header, so I was a little worried, but no, I don't need to do that. File system, modules, fs isolation. All right, and I also need to include a file system, modules, module loader. That fixes everything. Very good. Now, instead of including the module loader, you're just going to include process, isolated file system, and that should give you the function to call here. Beautiful. All right. So right now it only has the resources folder for your application, and the resources folder just redirects you, even though apparently it doesn't work, to your, well, it does work, but like partially. I don't know what's going on with that, but I don't care. It redirects you, but only partially, to the resources folder of your application. Well, I need to build a couple more of these. First off is the shared init, which we'll get to it, don't worry. I used to have a folder called shared, which I then turned into a folder called home. Now I'm just redirecting shared to home. Also, this is not bundle module anymore. This is shared module. This is shared home. And this will simply redirect to string literal home. That is it. That is it. All right, so we're going to load the bundle module, which is the resource module. We're going to load the shared module so that applications have access to that. Not sure which applications were using that, but now they should be able to. And then I'm going to do the same thing for an environment module. I don't know if I want to call it, yeah, I'm going to call it environment. Because I don't want to call it terminal. Because I was thinking of kind of, a terminal is going to become really powerful if it's going to be able to have text, tables, graphs, all of this stuff. Wouldn't be too difficult to just also include graphics into that and make it another category of that and just make it an environment. Kind of like I said that the shell, well, no. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm gonna just not start speculating here. Speculating as if I wasn't building the damn thing, but it doesn't matter. All right, we're gonna call it the environment, even though it's supposed to be for the terminal. I keep accidentally pressing the N and the M together. Now I did it wrong, but I always did it as NM, so it was never a typo. Alright, we're also going to load the environment module, and the environment module is going to go to its own initializer. Environment init, which right now is going to return true without doing anything. No, that was fine. That was the right location. Environment init and environment. All right, let me test it during the add. Kernel, like process monitor loads a kernel driver that is unloadable in some gates and apps. And anti-cheat don't like it. Is that in Windows? Oh, hey, look at that. Okay, how do I know that this worked? A bunch of these applications are back because these applications were inside of shared, which is now being loaded by this. And we have this game back, we have this game back, we have this back, we have this back, and these are the built-in ones, which were always there. Anti-dandruff shampoo and cat food. Oh no. Alright, so yeah, seems to work. Because again, I can access these. Failed to launch process. I guess not. None of the processes launched, so okay, it doesn't fully work. Alright, let me see why not. From the file browser, I should be able to see shared, and inside of it I can see all this stuff, including applications and projects, code. I can open a main.c and that opens. Okay. So it's probably something that the launcher is doing that doesn't work. Hey, yo, the launcher just crashed. One time. Now it works. Does Doom run? No. Failed to launch process. Yeah, I keep saying that. Alright, well, that kind of sucks. Has Twitch increased how long the ads are? It's always been 3 minutes of ads, but not everyone gets 3 minutes of ads. You either got unlucky or they increased it for you. Yeah, that's usually why I take 3-minute breaks. I feel like most people, the ads are over faster than 3 minutes, but maybe not everyone gets them at the same time too. Whoa, almost dropped that. Oh my god, Jester! You're a pig. Okay, look, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be so for real right now. I don't give a shit if this thing doesn't work properly. I'll debug it some other time. Again, I've been streaming for 2 hours and I have not been able to actually start on what I wanted to start, so I'm just gonna ignore all of this and just move on. Although I'm pretty sure I'm gonna run into issues. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway. Environment. Is that spelled correctly? Looks like it's spelled correctly, yes. Alright, so the plan with the environment module is that the terminal can provide you with an environment to run in, and again, you can configure it. But I guess that kind of depends on who owns the kind of who owns the process. I don't know about that. Essentially, I don't always want to load an environment. Well, maybe I do. Okay. I can make this environment file go to the process's environment, so the process can control its environment. The terminal reads from it and adapts to what the process is telling it to do. Or the terminal provides an environment file which the process then goes to, and the terminal, not the terminal, the process writes to it. Right, so who owns this file? Is it the process or is it the terminal? If I make the process own it, then the terminal can just adapt to whatever process whatever the process is doing with the environment. So it's probably better, and it's also easier for me to set up. So yes. So every process is going to have one of these environment files, environment folders, I guess, right now. And the terminal can access those. Maybe? I'm not sure. No, I'm just gonna do it like that. Okay, so the process owns its own environment file and tells the environment how it's supposed to look, and the terminal can pick that up optionally. If it doesn't have a terminal, nobody picks that up. If it does have a terminal, it gets picked up by the terminal, and the terminal configures itself. Or if I end up expanding this whole thing to more than just a terminal, then even the window can pick it up and do something with it. But I guess we'll see. But yeah, I'm definitely going towards the process owning that file. Now, the problem is that file is going to be inside of the process's own file system, and the terminal cannot access that. So, okay, let me just start building something for it. First off, I want its code here. So I can make this environment a virtual file system. What? Files bfs.h, okay. Okay, so you're going to have an environment initializer, yes. And you're also going to have the following functions: read, write, stat, get stat, read dir, that's it, open, and all of those are going to be using the default VFS implementation of them. Like that. All right. So it is a virtual file system. Now, as to how to make the terminal access it, I'll have to deal with that. But right now, should be fine. All right, you do need to load the modules, so I'm gonna give you access to the file. All right. Free entry. I forgot what I call this whole thing. The clipboard does it. Where's my clipboard? Utils clipboard, clipboard.c here. Oh, it uses a stack file system, so that actually does everything. Okay, so theme does it. Okay, make entry. This is the function that I need. Make entry. All right. I probably won't use the directory as file thing. All right, so we're just going to configure the what can I call it? Input to output type? No, it's a file, so 2 words sounds kind of weird. Format. It's a virtual file. It is going to be a file. Its data signature is going to be that, and it is not going to have a buffer for now. So I'm not sure what to put here. Okay, I kinda hadn't thought of this. But when I create this environment file, which by the way, this can easily just be a .c file with an environment. Yeah, everything is from scratch. Environment.h. I can pragma once u, and I can extern system module u. And I can also include that. Okay. Oh. I'm not sure how well this is gonna work from a file, from a memory perspective, because this VFS will probably not create multiple entries per file system. It will use the same one for everything. Okay, I know what to do. I forgot I can do this. Okay, so this environment file system is actually going to be the file system that I'm starting to forget what I'm doing. Okay, so this is going to be the kernel side file system that contains all the environment files for all the programs. And then the one inside the process is simply going to redirect you to the one for your program. Yeah, kind of isolated in a temporary folder. It's just a matter of how to structure it. Right, so it's gonna have this inside of it. So I'm not doing it like that yet, but I do expect to find that I left the pragma once in here that I shouldn't have. File browser and environment and is empty. C'est un problème. It's not supposed to be empty. Very bad. Stack corruption issues that aren't detected. You eventually detect them. I am calling environment in it, and this is supposed to be creating a... Well, no, because there's no ID being passed, so okay, I understand. Okay, so let me do it like this. Nope. Why is it there 4 times? Oh, yeah, okay. It is doing what I expected. Okay. Which is that this system module is yeah, a single system module. So there were four different format files because every time I opened a process, it would create a new format file. And I opened the launcher, I accidentally opened the wrong app, then I opened the launcher again, then I opened the file browser. That's 4 files for format. Okay. Can I exploit that? I'm not French now. Because every time you open a process, it's gonna call this init. Man, no, that's stupid. That's stupid. Okay. No. All you're gonna do, you're not gonna give me a system module. You're gonna give me a yeah, you're gonna make a system module. Okay, you're gonna make a system module for me. But that system module is just going to be the create env module, and you're gonna give me the process ID for which to create it. That way I can automatically do a few things. Alright, so first off, oh, you don't like that, do you? Okay. I need to include what do I need to include? I'm starting to lose it. I'm starting to lose it. Stream won't last much longer. God damn it. I spent an hour and a half debugging, half an hour yapping. I finally started working and now I'm too tired to think. Come on. File system. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. File system modules. That's the one I'm looking for. Yes. FS isolation. Boom. And also module loader. Boom. Okay. All right, we're good. It's been so cool watching your OS from the start where you just implement the graphics. That was way back in the day. It's been a whole journey. Using plan 9, then pull the temporary folder to finish the write operation. No, it's all virtual, so 9p doesn't have anything to do with it, but I am using it, just not for this. Alright, so we want to create a system module, right? So first off, we want to have this, which allows me to, if I'm not mistaken, I stole this one from React. And no, not from React. I stole this one from Express, which is still a Node module, so it's not much better than React, but it's slightly better than React. I stole the syntax from them, where you can pass parameters as files. So essentially, ID 0, you can go to /environment /0 /format /1 /format, so on. And that's supposed to be for the process ID. Right. So we will need a parser for the ID. Yeah, because the system module doesn't hold any data. This cannot hold any data. So any system module that exists in the process's file system should be either completely isolated from any other system module or centralized in the kernel and then distributed to each process. Alright, but I do want to try. Alright, the same thing that I had before. But where essentially I give you a new copy of this. What will happen if I do that? What will happen if I just return a system module like this? Might as well experiment, right? So get make environment, create environment. Oh my god. For the proc ID. Like that. I was thinking, once I finally get back to doing stuff with my compiler, to have some way of having alternate names for functions. Because between make, create, register, initialize, there's so many where like I've been inconsistent with naming, although they're slightly different things. So it kind of makes sense. But here we're creating an environment, which also make, yeah, maybe I should pick between create and make. But in other places I'm registering something. But there's, I can never remember which name I used. So I was thinking, should I just create something to like allow me to have multiple spellings and multiple things like those? Alright. It crashes, so that's not a good sign. That is not a good sign, no. Okay, so that didn't do what I expected it to do. Well, I didn't know what it was going to do. I just definitely didn't expect it to crash. No, definitely, why are you crashing? Also, this should technically be like that. Also, this is getting called every time we create a process, yet it only crashed when reading the directory. So yeah, this is doing something weird. Alright, yeah, no. This doesn't make any sense. Alright, the point is, system module does not hold any actual information. I don't think it should. Definitely. Maybe it should. No. Nah, maybe I'll have to do that eventually, but no. No. I don't know. The point is, the virtual FS file that I'm using to create virtual files and whatnot, that one is using just some static variables like this. Which means it has no real way of separating the different processes data. So every time I initialize a process, it calls this environment init, and it... I just understood why it crashed, by the way. Oh, whatever. It calls this function every single time, and so it creates multiple files with the same name, which is not ideal. Now I have to choose. Do I want the process to truly have its own file system that can be completely separate from the kernel's file system? Probably not. Or do I just want to use these isolated file systems purely to redirect you to a folder in the kernel file system, which is probably what I want to do. So I think I'm just going to do that. So the environment module is just going to be one, and the environment module for the programs is just going to be just like these ones, actually all of them. U16 rocket. It's going to redirect to /environments /I. That's it. Where I is procked. And if you don't have a procked, I'm starting to get lazy. Instead of typing out environment every time, I'm just going to call it env. Alright, so /environment is going to be the project's, the process's current environment. /environment is going to be in the kernel the full list of environments, which the process can also access for the time being, but it shouldn't really do that. Also here we want to return false, and we're good. We're good. Now, back to this environment module. Take this back to what it was before, like that. And now the kernel can load this one. Although I should probably start moving this stuff out of here. Okay, so the kernel will load the environments, and then each process will load environment, which contains its environment. Alright, and what is your problem? You can no longer do this, is not a problem. You now simply do env module. Alright, so let's see if... Should be able to go to the file browser. We have an environment, and I'm not seeing the environments. Okay, so that's the environment for it. Which is redirecting it to environments. The weird thing is that I don't see environments here. Like at all. Failed to load module environment because init failed. How could its init fail? When it literally only returns true? Unless this has a... What? How could this possibly have failed? Now it worked. Oh, but I'm loading it. Oh, wait, hold on. I didn't give it the right... Now I'm very confused. I said I was going to load it to environment, which, by the way, this word is starting to look more and more misspelled as I look at it. I'm so confused whether it's right or wrong anymore, but I think it's right. The thing is, the one inside the process was supposed to redirect to /environments, which didn't exist, and yet it worked? How is that possible? Oh, it probably didn't work. It just, instead of finding this one, it was finding this one, since they were pointing to the same place. Alright, now we have environments, and I don't see environment. Yeah, it's not here. Is this one failing then, the environment in it? Oh yeah, it is failing, because I'm never setting the proc ID. Okay, so bring this back to environment instead of yo, what the fuck. All right, let me see if I did it right. We got a little bit of the bada bing with the environment and a little bit of the bada boom with the environments. What do you know? This points nowhere though. This works. Okay, because environments again points you to format. But if I do this, environments should now be empty. Environment should now have a value. This is empty. This is empty. So, not quite. I just fucked it up a little bit more. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's because I'm using the VFS when I could be using the stackfs, which is a low-key subclass, I'll be honest. It's an implementation of the virtual file system VFS that works with instanced data. So it does all those, like, these things. It allows you to instantiate multiple definitions of a few functions. So there are a few things here that I didn't mark as static because it is a header-only file. So yes, it is. All right. I'm still not sure if it's gonna work or I need to do some extra setup, but environment is now empty, so it's not looking good. There's environments work, but environments is obviously empty because it doesn't actually exist. All right, so the stack file system uses okay, maybe I don't want to use the stack file system then. As the stack file system uses IDs. No, not really. Hold on, what is this? Yeah, I think I'm right that I don't want to use the stack file system, but I want to use a lot of its functionality, but I don't want to use it like that necessarily. Because the stack file system should have these files by default. It allows you to call environments to create a file system, a new one, but not associated with your process ID. Just its own number. Then I can do something like ID/format. Wait, no, don't do that. Let me see if I can use it. Probably not. Maybe I can. Okay, I have an idea. So if I want to use it as the stack file system, then I just call this here. If this fails, then we also fail. Otherwise, we create this extra file for ID format. Right, but that's in the current stack. Now on top of that, we do a void, no, not a void, a u16 create environment, which will call I'm probably going to make this a new function in the stack file system to create a new environment for us. The thing is that when you write, here we are, we need to do something like this. So static inline, no, not bool. Actually, you return like a U64. Stackfs create entry. You do this manually with a specific size. You just create a buffer for it. And then just this, actually. I don't have multiple processors right now. If you mean multi-threading, I don't have it yet. If you mean multiple architectures, I never will have that. The more I look at this, the less sure I am that this is going to work. Yeah, because this tag file system is really created to have multiple... I want something like this. Similar to this. But that works with directories. So most likely what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create it manually. And then I'm going to generalize it into something similar to this, but that works with multiple folders, not multiple files. So this is a file system for handling like history-based operations, whereas this is more for instantiating, so completely different behavior. All right, I might as well do it actually. Folder fs .h. I'm just gonna do it here for sake of simplicity. That's a lot of code, I'm not gonna lie. Folder fs, I think maybe without the underscore. All right, so I don't know what most of this is supposed to do, so we're just gonna leave it like that. The only thing you're supposed to have is /id/format, okay? Just like that, thank you very much. Also include types and include vfs.h because I do need that one. All right, so we're just gonna have the make format thing. All right, so you're just gonna include folder fs, which is in here for now. And you're not going to need your own initializer anymore. You will now have the folder fs. And none of these. Although we do need a read there and the stat if I want this to work. So I'll immediately start copying these functions. No, wait. Copy the entire function. Why is there so much stuff happening here? I'm much rather start over with it. All right. All I want from you is this. Then Huh, okay. I'm starting to remember how this works. Okay, so in order to have a readDir function, I need to call this list route directory contents, which has a parse path function. Right, all this is part of the router system. And this uses a couple functions that you have to implement yourself. Which are implemented like this. I'm not sure. All right, here. All right, so these two functions are supposed to be implemented for you. If I declare skip, what was it called? I literally just copied it from there. Skip router functions. All right. The skip router functions just allows the virtual file system to not do those so that I can do those according to how my module handles them. Most interesting stream in a while. Thank you. All right. So will it do anything? Probably not. Man, I remember when I wrote this, it was good. It was clever. But remembering how it works, yeah, that's not very fun. Okay. I mean, I might as well just see what it does real quick. Probably nothing, but it's worth checking. It's going to comment that out as well. You have an init function, you have an folder fs function. Right, no, this function is no longer used. So this function can go. It's empty. It's empty because they don't have stat. All right, so I can implement stat for them. That shouldn't even be too difficult because stat is just, well, in its most minimal implementation, hold on here. In its most minimal implementation, it is a boolean with this, a const char path, and a fs stat, where if no stat, you return false. Otherwise, right now, all I'm gonna do is stat type equal entry directory and return true, so we can actually enter the function if I register it as being what the environment uses. Good. All right. So now environment and environments are considered folders. Inside of this one, there's nothing. Inside of this one, there's nothing. That makes sense because there actually is nothing. All right, now, in order to implement readDir, there is a way to resolve these kinds of things. It's essentially used to parse a parse an argument or list out all the arguments. So when you're doing a directory listing, right, for why do I have multiple cursors? What happened there? When I'm trying to list out the root directory of this module, which it just contains ID, which actually, no, it doesn't. You have to do that manually. Right, so when I'm trying to list out that, which is a virtual folder with no data signature and no buffer to it. Okay, when you're trying to list out the IDs, this is going to call a function, one of these two that I copied but haven't implemented. One of these two, this one or this one. I believe it's this one. And that one is going to just enumerate all the possible IDs. So it's going to be given like, hey, enumerate all the IDs for me, and it's going to do that. Instead, to parse this, what it's going to do is it's going to tell you first, okay, listen, the user entered a folder that looks like environment. That's the full name. That's environment. Number 16/format, right? Or number 16. And what it's going to do is, okay, listen, does it match this? Yes, but does it match this thing here? Does 16 match an ID? The answer is yes. And in that case, it's going to be like, okay, so we're looking at this. So the value to return when listing the directories is format. Took me a long time to get that right. Right, structure without, not really. I mean, it has to be defined somewhere. I'm okay with it being defined like this. Okay, actually, folder fs init, like, you do just the ID without the format thing. So that's a directory. That's it, and that way I don't have to do it here. All right. Okay, so match param is supposed to be, does this string slice here match the type of parameter that you expect? If I'm not mistaken, I do have this implemented in the stackfs. Yeah, I need this, pretty much. Which is, if the parameter in question is the ID parameter, then we're just going to check the slice. And if it's not a digit, then it's not an ID. And if it is a digit, then it is an ID. That simple. Could also check if it actually exists, but not doing that just yet. All right, so that one is for the second part of what I mentioned, for parsing this, so we can then return this. This one then is for listing the contents. And it kind of compiles. Looks like it doesn't have any errors, which is a little weird. So why not? Feel like you should. Okay, okay, we're gonna call read dir in the folder, which is going to list route directory contents. This is from the router. This is going to parse a path, and that is going to call that function match param that I mentioned before, as well as I'm not seeing the other function being called. It's worrying me a little bit. Emit route contents. List route directory contents. Parse. Oh, okay. It's a function pointer. Multiple. Okay, I understand. All right. So list route directory contents, we'll call this emit route contents. This emit route route contents is going to here do some aliasing, here do some custom behavior for the thing, then file name. Now you're not going to be able to fill this out though, is the problem. I think maybe I just didn't implement this this behavior. There's a chance that maybe I haven't implemented this behavior, but I do expect readDear to call this function, which will eventually call this function if everything went well. And it should be able to list out, at the very least, just the value ID itself. Okay, yeah, there it is. This. Yes. But it isn't actually resolving it. Right, so where we resolve it is here, where we do a string strncmp case between the string and ID case insensitive with the length of resolution file name length, and if that equals to 0, then we're going to return. After trying out a few of these, just kind of hard-coded for the sake of it. Yo. Screw it, let's just leave it like that. I was gonna call them 1, 2, and 3, but that's good. But then environment is not yet working as expected. All right, so inside of here, what I do is I just check, okay, are we supposed to output ID? If so, we just go through all the IDs that we have and we output them. Just like that. Whereas this instead parses them. So can we go inside of those folders, I wonder? No, because these are not numeric. But if I make them numeric, even though they're just kind of hard-coded right now, if I make the environments numeric, I go inside of them, nothing happens. Oh, well, okay, yeah. No, it's kind of not acting like I expected it to. Somewhat, but not really. Zero, zero, and then it exits like there's nothing else. 1, 0, 2, 1. I don't know why I can enter them twice and only twice, but like, it kind of works, but it kind of doesn't. Okay, so I did say there's a static entry called ID, and then there should be another static entry called ID format. Okay, so how's that? I don't know why it does that, like it opens it twice, opens the same folder twice. But I did right now hard code some processes, and it works fine. Okay, so this is where I do need a void register environment with a U16 proc ID. That function is going to do a lot for the community. So in isolated FS, when you initialize the file system, yes, you're going to go to environment/proc ID, but first you're going to tell the environment about it by registering the proc ID. We'll eventually have to unregister the proc ID as well, which I'm not doing right now. It's actually called Finny. They copied this from Linux and for some reason they call it Finny. Alright. So we'll handle the deinitialization once I'm doing a little bit of cleanup. Right now it's not really necessary. Okay, yeah, so you register with that. Okay, so what does register entail? We are going to have a hash map. Wait, hold on. Do I want the hash map? Okay. The thing is, I want the hash map in this case because maybe I'm calling this for process 7, but not for process 8, but I am doing it for process 9. So I'm kind of working with, I'm definitely not doing it for processes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5, because those are usually reserved to the kernel, which doesn't do this whole BS. It doesn't have virtual file systems, but it also doesn't have environments. So in this specific case for the environment, I need to be able to load folders with a unique number that isn't necessarily continuous. But in other cases, I do want to make them continuous. So maybe I can have like an actual map, like a stack. And then on top of that, have a hash map that translates from one to the other. It's not super ideal, but it can be done. I guess I'll figure it out after the ad, because it's starting right now. I'll be back in 3 minutes. All right. Okay, so I was thinking about what to do with this folder file system, and the easiest thing to do, frankly, first off, I shouldn't use a stack here because these may begin as continuous pieces of data, but they can be deleted. So it doesn't make sense to keep them as continuous pieces of data. Instead, I probably want to use a linked list for this. Then this mapping, if I need it at all, I can do it outside of this thing. All right, so thing is, the folder fs should allow you to yeah, what the hell? Okay. Folder fs is going to have a static u16. No, not u16. Why would it be u16? u64. Folder fs create folder. And that is going to give us the what did I call it? Data list. No data list, and create the data list as linked list create. And then what data do you put inside of it? That's up to you when you create it. Right, so that's just linked list push to data list the data that you passed in. We can even return. This is a void, isn't it? God damn it, why is it a void? Ah, it's not a void, it returns... Wait, why is this one a void? It should return the node, or 0. It doesn't have their own ID. But it does have the count of it. So you can just return that list. I'm gonna beat my fear of signed integers and just return -1 here. Otherwise, return the count. Alright, so that creates a folder which the environment can do as create folder. The process for that folder, I mean the contents of that folder, I could store the process ID directly, but it's better to allocate some memory and then put it in a proper structure. U16 proc ID environment data. Right, so we're going to allocate some of that. And then the data proc ID is going to be the process ID that we got here. Then we're going to pass the data to be put in here. And I just realized that a mapping wouldn't really make sense here because I can say process 6 maps to entry 4. But then if I delete entry 3, 4 becomes 3, so that moves. So I can't really do that. The best thing I can do then is that registering the environment just creates the folder for you. And then when we're going to list out the contents of the folder, we're going to use a folder fs list IDs, which actually needs this thing, right? And an offset. Needs this thing and the offset. This function, which I'm now going to create. And it takes as argument the you don't take this as argument, I guess. You take as argument the offset. And then its default implementation is just going to go through the linked list node by node, starting at the data list. Well, first off, if we don't have a data list, it's going to do nothing. Then we're going to start at the data list head, so long as node exists. If node is its next. And then if node.data, and we're also going to register a kind of function pointer like this. So if the node doesn't have data, we're just going to skip it. Otherwise, if the node does have data and we have a custom function pointer, we're just gonna call that function pointer with the node's data to be called, and we're gonna need to keep an index anyway, so we might as well just do that. The original index of it, which is I, and the offset, the out offset, which is used for kind of recovering from this operation if we don't have enough memory. This one's going to be buggy as shit, by the way. Doesn't matter. Alright, so we call that function, and if we don't have that function, then we use the normal directory filler by just calling the file after its own name, after its own index. So that is a string format with an I, string S, pass that in here. And then well, both here and here we want a string free s. And here we want to return because we filled out the buffer that we had. Okay, so that should allow me to manually map out what each buffer points to. And so long as, what each of these entries points to in terms of process ID. That way 0 can point to process ID 3 and process ID 7 can point to process ID so on. With the issue there being that right, the entire point of this is that it's stored inside of the process itself. So I can I do this? No. How did I... Oh, this is a static function declaration. No, this is supposed to be a type def. And this is supposed to be... Can I do this? Hold on. The function that it's looking for is technically being declared here. And it sees it as a different kind of symbol. Right, because this is a function pointer. But can I assign it? No. Wait, okay, hold on. I just gotta decipher this real quick. A void pointer void U64. Ah, it's missing a U64. I can assign it like that. The way I'm doing object-oriented programming without doing object-oriented programming needs to be studied, honestly. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But I just did a virtual function like this, I think. I'm not sure. Environment list. That's the name of the function, not custom. So this one can parse the context as this. And then it can do this whole thing using the data proc ID. Genuinely horrified if this compiles. Actually, yes, it compiled. Even worse if it runs. My God in heaven. I don't think that was supposed to work though. That is not process IDs. Also expected there to be 4. Oh, I'm not actually calling this register environment. So it's doing something a little weird. I think I was supposed to like use this somewhere. No, I am calling register environment. I literally copied it from the place that I'm calling it, saying I'm not calling it anywhere. Calling it right here. Register environment is going to call this. It's going to create a folder. Okay, so I think that folder is just This is not assigned. I'm not sure which one of these is happening. Let me see. Just print. Should be fine. Custom folder name or default folder name I. Default folder name 0 and 1. But I am doing this, which I did think was a little bit too weird. I mean, I am, right? No, I'm not. It's 6, 7, fuck's sake. Alright. Process 6 and process 7 have their own entries inside of this thing. Why did it have to be those two numbers? I don't know. Luckily, that whole thing is dying. Anywho. This kinda works, kinda not. So there's still a few things I need to refine here, but it is loading the correct folder here. But it's also loading these, which is not supposed to. It's also logging every time I move the cursor. And this one is now being resolved to /6. So a little bit buggy, but I have to say, it works. I'm able to load multiple environments for multiple processes. And now, do I want to know what happens if I try to click into my own process's environment? That looks like my own process's environment. Buggy, but it looks like that. So I think that's correct. I just think I need to fix some bugs, but yeah. Well, luckily all the BS I went through the past 3 streams is starting to pay off, and this isolated file system is really starting to work out. So that's always good. That's always nice. That's always welcome. However, hello Ichigo-san. He's already asleep. And I'm not sleeping for like 3 hours. Who am I fooling? But I am very tired. I'm not making as many stupid mistakes as I would have thought. But hey, we're good. Welcome, Ichigo-san. You're joining at the end of today's stream, but I'm streaming again tomorrow. Alright, so tomorrow I hopefully will fix this little bug. And then yes, everything is from scratch. And then but that it gets very 6, 7 here. This is supposed to just be format, but somehow it lists out the contents of the directory, and then on top of that it also lists out the folder, but without resolving its name. So, not exactly good, but it does what I want it to do, kind of. I feel like I remember the same bug happening when I was working on the stack file system, so now that I'm working on the folder file system, it's going to be very similar to it. Maybe even the same fixes and whatnot. But, alright. Tomorrow I'm going to fix this bug, and then, finally, nearly a week after I originally started working on this thing, thanks to all the damn side quests that I went on, I swear to God. It really feels that way. It really feels like I'm trying to finish the damn main quest, but I keep getting sidetracked. Finally, I can do a little thing that helps the terminal talk to the program running inside of it and checks its program's environment file, the program's environment file, in order to then know if the program wants a different format than the one that the terminal currently handles. And then we can have data structures, multiple data structures, multiple outputs for the program, all that stuff. That was a lot. Oh god. Okay. That's a lot that I've already done and a lot that I already need to do, but it's gonna be cool when we have tables in the terminal. That's what the average computer user wants, tables in the terminal. That's the one reason Linux is never gonna have the year of the Linux desktop, because they don't have tables in the terminal. Unless you install a terminal that has tables. Well, a shell that has tables. But Linux by default does not have this. I will have this by default. Therefore, year of the redacted desktop before we get the year of the Linux desktop. Okay. That's gonna be the end because I'm already yapping way too much. So I'm streaming again tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to fix this bug. I'm going to properly implement environments. I'm going to have the terminal talk to processes through the environment and be able to access their formatting. That part is actually going to be easy so long as processes are not isolated. Completely isolated. They have a virtual file system, but it's not an isolated file system yet. When it is, I'm going to have to figure out a way to do inter-process communication with the file system. But that's a story for another time. All right, thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.